So, hey everyone, it is Something to Do Saturday, and I have my good friend Marcia Palm here with us today. I'm so excited because Marcia Palm and I actually got to spend time together over at the Ashcraft Greenhouse, and I want to say that I learned so much from her, and I did, but in the big grand scheme of things, I learned nothing because there's so much to learn. And I'm going to start by saying that Marcia is not a master gardener. She does not want you to even think that for a minute. So I have dubbed her the flower enthusiast because she does love flowers. And so she's gonna share some of her vast knowledge with. Don't let her fool you. She knows a lot. But again, it's always an ongoing process of learning. So welcome. I'm so excited you're here today.
Me too. It's good to be here, AJ. It's like the old days.
It's like the old days.
Together in the greenhouse.
So you got your start. When you started at Ashcraft years ago, you didn't know anything about greenhouses or really anything about flowers. It was just kind of like, hey, here you go.
I loved flowers.
There you go.
That's about all I knew was that I loved flowers, and the more the better.
How long were you in the greenhouse?
19 years.
19 years. And she still makes guest appearance there, by the way, just in case
I love that place.
It's in her blood.
Yes,
her blood runs a little green from time to time.
There you go.
And so basically you started just kind of trial and error, and that system worked for you, so you never gave it up, right?
That's a lot of trial and error, a lot, you know? And I had a lot of folks that I would call other greenhouses, and I'd ask them questions and they would give me some answers, and actually a lot of it was trial and error. And there was a whole lot of error, a whole lot of learning, because I always have a tendency to overdo.
That's how we learn.
Yes, yes.
And that's one of the cool things that I have noticed about flower people, greenhouse people, is they're very willing to share their knowledge and talk about things. I know our friends out at Red Beet Row, they're a wealth of knowledge, and they love to share. So, you know, anytime that you have questions, don't be afraid to reach out. You know, the flower people are pretty nice people. Marcia's a prime example of a wonderful flower person. So, the first thing I guess we want to talk about today is that you can start some things indoors.
Yes.
And we're going to give you some goodies later. They'll be available in the vestibule. I'm going to have some seeds for you. I'm going to have some of the little pot thingies that you can put right in the ground. Oh, there they are. Yep, we got them over here. You can pick up one of those. Those will be fabulous. And we can actually help you get started. So those will be in the vestibule. Limited supply, so you know, just take one. And first come, first served basis. Hopefully we'll have enough to get everybody started.
A lot of times when you're doing something like that, when you're planting, you can use all kinds of containers. Something like this. This was like a frozen food bottom. I like these larger containers. This is only a lot larger. And then that way you don't have to transplant. I would rather not transplant things because that disturbs the roots. This can go right in the ground when the weather gets nice. This is a nasturtium, one of my most favorite. Yeah, I've got probably 20 packs at home. I do too, they're so beautiful.
Great.
So this is also a nasturtium that I actually started too early, and it did not get enough light, and so it's looking pretty sad. I don't know if it's gonna make it. But
so that is one of the things that you're going to want to consider if you're going to start something indoors. You're going to want an area that you can get some light in there, because we were just talking before we started the video that one of the crucial things in order to grow anything is that you must have light. You also need water, and I think the other thing was food. You don't need soil. I learned that when I went to Disney at Epcot. You don't need soil. I can't remember what the other thing is though, so you know. But anyway, we're going to use soil today. So.
right. But what I learned was, you know, you're going to put the soil in your container, and you're going to kind of lightly pack it down so you get the air bubbles out. And then you're going to sow your seeds. And then you're going to put a little bit of soil on top, not a lot. And actually that soil really needs to be moist before you put it in these containers. I know there's some people that water after they're planted, but I would water that soil, get it moist beforehand, and then you put a little bit more soil on top. I went through and I looked at all of the dates. A lot of them say like 6 to 8 weeks before frost. You can sow inside if you would like. And some of these are just way too early sown, and they're just not getting the light that they need.
Now they do have grow lights out there, so if you're thinking, hey, I'm looking for new stuff to do, and you're thinking about a hobby, that's definitely an option. But if you've got a really bright, maybe you've got a sunroom or a nice big bay window, you can. But I mean, holy cow, what's this? My question is, what is this going to look like in another couple weeks?
Well, actually, we're going to take this to my daughter who lives in North Carolina.
Oh, tangent!
and that's going to be really good because, at the end of the month, I can probably plant that down there in North Carolina.
Yeah, in North Carolina?
Yes.
Not here.
No, not here, yes. They're saying that our frost date is like May 5th, but I think that's a little early.
I don't know where they're living.
I don't either. That was the almanac, the farmer's almanac.
Okay.
But it was like, that's way early.
I have pictures of it was way back in the day, 2005 was our first family trip to Disney. And it's back, and I'm telling you how old it is because it was on the little disc thing and we had snow the week before. The first week in May, we had snow enough that my husband was out running the snowblower. Those pictures were on the same thing. So
now that's a nightmare for me.
Yeah. It may be a fluke, but at the same time, we've kind of always operated like Memorial Day is really kind of like we're really out of the danger zone.
Yes, I have a hard time waiting that long, So, and I live over by the lake, so usually I get my stuff in, depending on the hardiness of the plant. I planted some marigolds. A lot of the stuff is like way too early, but I was just fooling around.
She's enthusiastic. She's having greenhouse withdrawal.
It's been COVID, and I'm keeping busy, So it's like trial and error. And the seeds didn't cost very much at all. So I've got zinnias actually are a really good seed that you can plant directly. You can sow right into the ground. These ones are a little bit not happy. They're getting a little leggy. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how they do. These are some marigolds, and these are actually some nasturtiums. These are the same thing as these, only they're just getting started.
Fabulous.
So
now, are there some? Have you found that are easier to start inside than others? Are there some things that grow better than others?
Well, I planted these marigolds like on the 3rd of March, and they are up. I put a plastic over the top and had used that as like a greenhouse effect. And so when you see the seeds, when you see any kind of germination, you take that off, and they're pretty easy. A lot of these I haven't tried. Zinnias are super easy. Cosmos are super easy to grow outside. Snapdragons, one of my favorite, not so easy. I've got some straw flowers that I found that I'm going to try, but after doing the math, I'm not going to sow these until April 12th because that gives them like 6 to 8 weeks before I'm going to get them outside in the garden.
Now, some of the other things I know we want to consider, and again, I never thought about this until I got to spend time with Marcia in the greenhouse. So some things do better in pots, and some things do better in the ground. So what are some good things that really like being in a pot, and what are some things that don't like being in a pot?
I do a lot of container gardening. Geraniums.
Less weeding that way, by the way.
That's right.
I know that.
You must have got me started on that, I think. 4 o'clocks. There's 4 o'clocks but those need to go in the ground, I do believe. Nasturtiums, they get long, they get leggy, and they dry out easily.
I was going to say, I remember they like lots of water.
Yeah, I would rather have those in the ground. I had several of those last year, and they were so wonderful. And I am going to plant zinnias everywhere because they're just gorgeous, and they last until frost. Some of the other things that like to be in a pot, petunias. Actually, over at the greenhouse, they've got some gorgeous petunias that they've started. And lantana, is beautiful in a pot. Yeah, lantana is beautiful in a pot. And actually I put lantana in the ground and it spread. It was one plant and it just spread all over. It was amazing. It was gorgeous.
If you're, if you've got a tight budget, is kind of do your homework. I'm a huge fan of the perennials because you get more bang for your buck because they come back every year.
Yes.
If you get the right ones, they kind of, seed themselves, and so you get even more, which is wonderful. So if you're on a tight budget, if you want a lot of bang for your buck, as I like to call it, perennials are a nice choice. One of the other things that's a great bang for your buck is don't forget that the library has a seed library. It's a library within a library. So there are seeds available in our seed library, which is another very economical way to kind of stretch that flower that flower budget. If you're not there yet, start planting. You'll get there.
Right.
It's bad, but it's a wonderful thing.
I did find some teddy bear sunflower seeds, and the teddy bears are like a 3-inch. It's a bud.
Small then?
It's a small one. It's a miniature.
Oh, cool.
And so it's really cool. They have some, and they're only 50 cents a pack right now. Yes. And so they're just kind of fun. And sunflowers, they're easy. They're easy, and they're.
And again, you can grab a hold of them seeds at the end of the season. And these are relatively cheap. Like I see that these were $4 for $1, and I did go to, of course, one of my favorite places, Dollar Tree, because I'm cheap. Because I got to get that in at least once that I'm cheap. Everything better than cheap's free. You get these $4 for $1. So that's super cool. Marks, when it gets past the initial season here, another couple weeks, they tend to go ahead and mark theirs down into a closeout. So a lot of times you can get those very inexpensively, which is great.
And a lot of times, even if the seed say on the back if it's expired, seeds last for longer than what it says back here. And what I do in those cases, if I've got seeds from years before that, I just sow very generously. I put a lot of seeds in there, and it usually, not everything will germinate, but some of it will. And by golly, instead of pitching those thinking that that they're not going to do well, a lot of times you will get seeds from them. So, and it is important though to label everything.
Yes.
Some of my things aren't labeled because I just have a lot of nasturtiums, so I know what they are.
She knows they're
Right. But you'll think that, I'll remember to I'll remember what that is, and you just need to label it as you go, so that you don't forget what is what. Unless you want to be surprised.
Yes, and
if you want to be surprised,
no,
go for it. Right.
Because sometimes you look at a nasturtium kind of has that distinctive leaf to it. I always thought they kind of look like lily pads, and that's why I always put them around my pool because they're cool.
They're beautiful.
And they're gorgeous. They have brilliant colors. They're very beautiful. But some stuff kind of looks similar to other stuff, so if you don't have it labeled, you're not gonna know. And
now, like nasturtiums, they will last until mine lasted till November, till late November. The blooms, it was gorgeous. And the same thing with zinnias and marigolds, of course. They are wonderful late in the fall. They just are very, very hardy. I have really good luck with ageratum.
oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna make sure I get some of that. And cleome is wonderful.
They're pretty.
Yes.
It's also important while we're talking about labeling, and I know Marcia's done this, so I will admit this to everyone on the video, that if you're working outside and you're planning things outside, and especially I'm a big fan of the clearance cart at Lowe's, as I know.
Yes, she is.
Marcia is.
She got me going. I go there and I check out the clearance cart.
Again, a good way to stretch that flower budget.
Yes.
But a lot of times, as the season will come up here shortly, I will start cleaning the flower bed. It is a good idea to either take a pencil and paper, or better yet, take your phone and your camera and take pictures of stuff, because I can't tell you the number of things that I have pulled up
Yes.
early,
Yes.
thinking that, oh, there's a weed, and then, oh, I missed something, and realized, well, guess what, I'm glad I missed it, because that appeared to be a weed all over my flower bed was something that I bought on the clearance cart, completely forgot about,
Right.
or didn't realize, oh, it looks like that before it reaches its full bloom. So it's a good idea when you're outside, and especially if you have more than one flower bed,
Yes.
to kind of either make yourself a little map, or like I said, better yet, take some pictures so that when you're out there weeding here in a couple weeks and cleaning things up, that you're not, yanking out somebody that worked really hard to get out of the ground to be beautiful and you just killed it.
Right, right. And that happens. Oh my goodness, that happens, I've done that myself. So, and I always say, oh, I'll remember that that's there in the fall. I'll remember what that is. And,
And it does. I'm not sure we just had some technical difficulties. I'm not sure where we left off, but we're going to pick back up. Hopefully editing will make some sense if we lost you there for a minute.
there we go.
All right, so we have more knowledge coming out here.
Well, it is, they say you really shouldn't go outside and dig up dirt and use for your seedlings. That you really need like a seed starting grow mix. I know, we don't need dirt. But, that's
I figured it out yet. I still use dirt in my house.
But they say the seed starting, and that was like about $4. I bought at Walmart. So, and one other thing actually is once you get your seeds up and running, they say to bottom water. Put some water in a tray if your seeds are looking, if the soil is like a light brown, that bottom watering is better for your plants than overhead watering.
Well, that would make sense because the roots are the part that's so.
Yes,
Who
yes.
knew?
So that's supposedly a really big deal. I mean, at the greenhouse, we overwater,
Yeah.
But I guess when you're starting stuff at home, that's what they say to do, is to bottom water. So, and of course light, they need, if you have a grow light, they say like 2 to 4 inches above the plants. But I just have windows, and so it seems to be doing okay for most of my stuff.
And I do know one of the other options that you have is we were very blessed. We have a beautiful day today. And especially once May comes around, I can no longer contain myself. I know Marcia knows nothing about that. So, maybe you're already out there, you're buying some plants, you've got your stuff out. You do have the option of kind of taking them in and out,
Yes.
taking them out during the day when
Yes.
it's nice, and then, bringing them back in at night.
Getting them used to the little cooler temperatures. Yes, that's always a good thing.
And then they're getting that natural direct light from the sun too, as opposed to that filtered stuff that comes through the windows. And I will just kind of add to this because again, here comes that word cheap. I have dug up the dirt. I have dug up my own dirt. And I will tell you that my flowers still grew and still did some other stuff. One of the reasons that I like pots and containers is because you don't have to weed. But I will tell you, if you go and you're digging up stuff in the backyard, that's not going to work because you're going to get the weeds in there.
Right.
So
Well, it's just like it's a finer soil. It's really fine. So it's not as clumpy,
Yeah, it's easier, it's nicer to work with. And you can, if you're going to do a lot, you can buy it in the bigger bags and it's cheaper the bigger bag you buy it. So you might as well just go flower crazy, right?
Absolutely. I already have.
It's a good thing. Come and join us.
Right.
So you've got some other little funky things
These
going
guys.
on. What are these cool little things?
These are pods. I bought this at Lowe's actually, and I've never worked with these, but
I know I've seen some of the stuff come in the greenhouse that looks like those.
Right. They have been planted in something like this to get them started.
Yeah,
and that's mostly the perennials, or well, some of the annuals too. And it's just a matter of putting this in water, and it took like about 15 minutes for it to absorb the water and be like this. And then you just peel this back and you plant your seeds. I like the bigger ones. I just don't like the small ones that much because then you really have to transplant a lot of times. They get too big for this one cell. So this is a nice size. This is really nice. So I would plant seeds in that. And I haven't ever tried it. I'm gonna try it and see how it works this year.
Oh, so this is kind of like a little makeshift greenhouse because you got the clear container here on top. Look how fancy that is. Just, your own little greenhouse right there.
Not usually fancy, but I thought, well, I'm gonna try some different things. Because I have time.
There you go. Yes, and in all this craziness,
Right.
the one thing that we can kind of look at is a lot of us have been blessed with some extra time. And, you know, as my kids will often quote, me, you, homeless guy on the corner, and Bill Gates all have one thing in common, 24 hours in a day. How we
Amen.
spend them is entirely up to us.
Right,
So,
right.
great way to
Right. I've heard larkspur is a really wonderful plant to grow. I've never done that, but I'm going to try it. It's an annual. And cosmos, of course. And here's these teddy bear sunflowers that are just really cute. So, I don't know.
Now, some of these things, we've talked about this before, that I always find it exciting. Some of these things, even though we're not talking about vegetables, are edible.
Yeah, nasturtiums.
Nasturtiums are edible.
Yes.
And is it marigolds? Is there something on the marigold that's edible, I think?
I don't know. Truthfully, I do not know.
Oh,
The
I
flower and the leaf are edible on
Isn't
the
that cool?
nasturtium. Yes.
And of course, the latest rage, I know, is, not that we're planting one today, is hibiscus is another one.
Okay.
They're doing all kinds of crazy things with hibiscus. First they were eating it, now they're making beer with it. Who knows what's gonna happen next. So that's another fun thing to look at when you're, you know, thinking about what am I gonna plant, what do I wanna plant, especially if you're working with kids and maybe you really wanna examine the whole aspect of it. Look and see what's edible. Because that can be fun too.
I don't do vegetables. They're just not fun for me. So all I do is flowers, you know, but go for it. You know, those veggies. My daughter would say yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. We're gonna do a video on how to love your vegetables.
There you go.
We'll have Marcia back.
No, you don't want me back. You definitely don't want me back.
We're gonna cook and eat.
Right. Sounds good.
But it's very important when you're looking at, and really the whole, there's a whole bunch of information on the back here. I'm gonna trot around here and come right here. You're gonna get close up. So most of your information is right here on the back of your seed packet. It's kind of like directions. If we choose to read them, the information is right there. Oh my gosh.
That's right.
But it'll tell you, and of course, if you go into Lowe's or Home Depot, they have like the little plant sticks that, again, they've got that lovely little label that tells you whether it needs full sun or
Right.
part sun or part shade, because some are rather finicky.
Yes.
You know, there are some that, yeah, you can get away with a little more sunlight or a little less sunlight, but some flowers are more particular.
And you'll know real quick, if it does not like where it's at, it will let you know. And so a lot of times when that happens, you know, you just need to move your plant to another area. You know, I've done that a lot. You know, yes. I mean, I do it in the greenhouse too. I used to do in the greenhouse, put things, you know, they like it over here, they don't like it over there. Who knows why, you know. But you know, it's trial and error. It's supposed to be fun. And it actually really is.
It's really
you know,
fun.
and it doesn't, you know, just try it. It's, you get so much reward.
And it's very exciting.
Yes, it is.
The first time, you know, you plant some seeds and something blooms. I will never forget my first solo year in the greenhouse when Marcia did this thing called Retire. I know she was very excited about it, but the rest of the world was not. And of course, I kind of had to plant stuff on my own, not completely on my own, because Marcia, you know, was holding my hand pretty much every step of the way. But there was something just really beyond satisfying to the first time that stuff started actually coming up. It was like, wow, you know, I grew this, I did this.
Right. The greenhouses, you can pretty much grow anything in a greenhouse. I mean, because like I said, I had no experience before that. And you just can't be afraid to try new things. And actually you listen and you learn from your peers. YouTube's got a lot of good videos.
Yeah, YouTube's a great place.
Yes.
The library has all kinds of books about the plants that you can look up, you know, flowers and what works. Again, our friends at Red Beet Row are a great wealth of knowledge. Our garden out back gets redone. We'll even have some lives. Very excited
That'll be
about
awesome.
that.
Yes.
Maybe we even have Marcia back to do a live. That would be cool. So it's just, it really is, it's trial and error, finding, you know, what works, finding what doesn't work, what you like and what you don't like,
right,
you know?
Right. Most things are really, you know, pretty easy, but most everything actually, you know, if you follow directions and if you do your basics, you should be able to grow some things that you could put outside.
Fun.
Yes.
And if you do, you know, and especially if you come to the library and pick up our little, you know, goodie bag that we're going to put out there for you. Remember, they're free. You just stop by, pick one up. Once it gets going, make sure that you send us a picture, keep us updated, because we always like to know how everybody did, because it's exciting.
I'll be sending pictures of my nasturtiums.
Oh yeah, send us picture, because I love the nasturtiums. I hope there's some red, because those are
Oh
my
yes,
favorite.
absolutely.
They're just beautiful.
Uh-huh.
And oh, you know, one of the other things that we didn't talk about that you might want to think about when you're picking out what kind of flowers you want to grow is that different varieties of flowers attract different things. Or repel different things. So like I'm thinking about the marigolds, and the marigolds are ones that supposedly
Keep rabbits.
Yes. And deer away.
Yes.
Now I don't know, do we have anything here? Because I just know what I have at my house. I know that I have bee balm, and I have something else that the hummingbirds love.
Absolutely. Yes. Same here. Same here.
So are there anything else that attract, maybe like if you wanted butterflies, or you want, what are some recommendations about?
I know the greenhouse actually is going to be selling butterfly bushes this spring. So I've got several of those because they do attract the butterflies, and that's really a pretty awesome thing. The hummers, you know, they love color, and yeah, the bee balm is wonderful. Golly, and they like my zinnia.
So that's something else to think about. If you want, if you want hummingbirds or you want butterflies, there are certain plants, it's been researched that, will attract those things.
Yes.
And that's just really something cool to watch, when something kind of fly. The hummingbirds, that never gets old. That's truly fascinating.
It's wonderful.
Cool.
But yeah, really exciting.
And that's the other thing too. Again, when we talk about flower budget, it sounds crazy now, but I know some of you out there are as crazy as we are. Check with your friends, have conversations with people.
Yes.
I know hosta is one. Actually, Tim and his mom gave me hosta last year. I think the deer feasted on it, either that or our resident groundhog. He's mad because we don't plant cabbage anymore. But folks are always kind of thinning out their flower beds, or maybe deciding that they're ready for something new. So keep an eye on that. As we do our project here across the street in the garden, there are some things that will be needing new homes. So keep an eye on our Facebook page for that. But that's another wonderful way to get some stuff for free, and how I like free. So check with your friends. Be watching Facebook. Just ask around, and of course, again, there's always our seed library. So great ways to.
That's a great. I know.
She didn't know we had a seed library.
I didn't. I was in there snooping around, and they're golly.
It's right out there for everybody. And so if you didn't know that we had a seed library, hey, guess what? We have a seed library. Yay! And you come in, just get seeds for free.
That's right.
Because free, that's the best. So if you had to leave us with like one piece of knowledge, one tip that you think is the most important thing we need to know, what would that be?
I'd say just don't give up. If it doesn't, if things don't work out the first time you try something, I would just keep trying, because I try maybe a different variety, something a little bit different. But it needs to be something that you like, and it's just like AJ said, it's just so joyful when you see something coming up. This is not all that joyful, but that was a lot more joyful.
This one might find joy yet. Just maybe a little sun. He's feeling like the rest of us now. Where is the sun?
Right. So just hang in there, because it is really, truly, something that you can do with your family. I mean, kids, grandkids. That would be just such a glorious thing to do, something like that with your grandkids.
Okay. Plug the children's ears. This can actually be educational, and what better way to do it than hands-on? They can actually learn. You can just say, hey, we're going to plant something fun, and and who doesn't like to get in the dirt? Kids like to get in the dirt and get dirty, put the seeds in, and of course while you're doing it, you can talk about, that it needs light and it needs food, and all living things need light and food and water. The whole science thing is there, and they don't need to know. They just sneak it in there.
So it's just fun. And then they get to watching it grow. They plant it in their yard, and they'll be so proud of themselves.
Yeah, well, who isn't proud? Don't you love it when somebody comes to your house and says, oh, that's beautiful? And, it's one thing to say, oh, yeah, I got that on the clearance cart at Lowe's for $1, because, don't think there's not a lot of pride in that. But it's really cool when I can say, oh, yeah, I started that from seed, or, even better, I started that from seed last year, and now I have this.
Right.
So it's a lot of fun.
So I plan on doing it with my grandkids.
Oh, that'll be
Yes,
so cool.
yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, it'll be fun.
Awesome. And hopefully once we get things going over here in our garden, we'll be able to offer some classes on that too. So keep an eye out for that.
Yes, yes.
All right. Well, it was so good that
Thank you
you
for
got to
having
come
me.
here today and share your nasturtiums and your knowledge with us. I'm so excited. Again, don't forget that there will be cool little pots. We're going to have some seeds. There's also the seed library. They're in the vestibule. They're free, which is always fabulous. And again, be checking out. There's lots of places here. We're very fortunate to have a lot of knowledgeable folks. There's a lot of greenhouses in the area, so check those out. Lots of opportunity to really, get some plants, get some just spring and summer fun and sunshine and beauty in your life. It's just wonderful. And this really is a great place to grow things. We're very fortunate to be in this area.
Yes, we've got sandy soil, which is, fortunate. I know some of you guys have clay, which isn't quite as much fun to deal with, but, just
But
make
you can always do a
sure.
little raised bed.
Right,
We've done that in places.
raised bed is wonderful. Just make sure you really don't sow them too early. Read the back and give yourselves like 6 to 8 weeks.
yourself some
So
time.
that things will, when they're up and you're able to put things outside, they'll just flourish. It'll be wonderful,
Beautiful. And send us the pictures.
Yes. Yes.
Send us the pictures. I hope you enjoyed this video today. If you did, please like, comment, and share so that your friends can become our friends, because we always want more friends. And a friend like Marcia Palm. Awesome.
I love this girl.
She's awesome. Have a great day, everybody, and we will see you real soon.